All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praises and glory and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of Ruel. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect, the Bayak Dawadah, the house of David. Right, so we're going to start you off with a scripture, all right, because we know what's going on in Iran, right, and what's going on with Israel, Babylon the Great, right? We know that this is really deeper than what people may think. So it's not right now so much per se about World War III. All right. Now we know that in the midst of that, there's proxy wars, there's many different things stirring up. But really, what this thing is all about is a global reset, right? And taking over the independence of what you call Iran's money system, right? According to CBDCs and programmable money and tokenized money, right? So let's go into here real quick because we know the end is not yet, right? Because Matthew 24 and verse number 6, let's read it here. This is Yahweh Shai's words, right? And it says, Matthew 24 and 6, it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Now, henceforth, while they went over there and had that little scrimmage and beef, now this thing is all set up by the Tiny Tops because they want to make this thing a global, right? A global reset coming from the international bankers, right? Who run that the International Monetary Fund, right? The IMF. You see? And this thing is a global reset going to what you call going into Agenda 21, henceforth bringing in what? That RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast, right? To chip everybody, run and control and track, trace, and control everybody's movements through a blockchain payment system. All right? So let's continue on. So Matthew 24 and 6, it says, and ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars, see that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows, right? So we know Jacob's trouble must come, right? Which is according to that mark of the beast, which is according to the test, right? The test that the brothers has already studied for, which we already know according to Revelation, the 13th chapter, all the way down, the 16th verse, all the way down to the 18th verse, right? Revelation 2 and 10, Revelation 3 and 10. You see, all these things must come to pass before the end game, right, is World War III. You see, now this is just a fight over the money system, right? Because like I said, it's a global reset. They want to do a global reset, right? Going into what? 17 sustainable development goals, right? Agenda 2030. You see? So let's continue on, right? Let's get a few scriptures before we go into what I really want to get into. So let me get Psalm, right? The book of Psalms 10 and verse number 3, right? It says, matter of fact, look, we can start at 2. It says, the wicked in his pride doeth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in their devices, right? In the plans. What is their plans? To chip everybody on the planet. You see? To have everybody under a surveillance, right? Palantir, Gideon, right? You see? Blockchains, right? CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, right? RFID microchips, NFC microchips. You see? Track, trace, and control everything, right? Put everything, build up on a blockchain. Put your medical records, everything, right? Your medical records, your criminal history, everything, your birth certificate, everything is going to be on that chip, man. You see? All right? Digital ID, right? You see? Moving you over into a technocratical world, totalitarian government, right? Technocratical totalitarian Tower of Babel. You see? It says in the devices that they have imagined, for the wicked boasteth, right? And they're boasting about this thing. What do you think Davos 2026 was all about? All right? What do you think going back into 2015 and all these things like that, right, is all about? What do you think going back into 2020 was all about? Right? Or 2019, 2018. 2018, 2019, when the CB19 came in, right? Which is all the setup bringing in what? 5G. You see? Which they call it the fifth generation. You see? High frequencies of radiation, right? Okay? Direct energy weapon. You see? Which that 6G is all about direct energy weapon, reading people's thought patterns and processes of giving them off that what? The money, right? Of the central bank digital currencies, right? CBDCs. You see? All right, so let's go here. It says, for the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetousness whom the Lord Yahweh abhorreth, right? You see? All right, so let's go on real quick. Let me get Psalm 58 and 3. I'll give you a few scriptures and then we're going to go into it. Psalm 58 and 3, right? It says, the wicked are strayed from the womb, right? Because there's a bunch of lies. You see? There's a lot of lies going on in the Western media. Okay? A lot of psyops is going on in the midst, man. All right? You just got to understand and go to different alternative newses, man, and find out the real truth. You see? Find out what's really going on. But now, brothers really know what's really going on, man. We know about the global reset. We know about how they want to bring in their new world order, right? You see? It says, for the wicked are strayed from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. You see that? As soon as they go aboard, speaking lies, man. Okay? And everything they're saying, like that proud devil Nero 47. All right? Now, he's behind this whole thing, right? The tiny tops put it behind this whole thing. The least of the flock shall draw them out, right? See? So they bringing Babylon into this, it's what you call proxy wars and things of that nature, because we know this is not the end game. We know that this is not the end wars of all, the end of all wars, the be war, right? We know that. You see, because we understand that we understand that major prophecy of the MOTB must come to pass, right? Jacob's trouble, which we in the midst of that, right? Starting with our brothers from the Northern Kingdom. You see, immigration force, right? ICE. And all these things like that, concentration camps, martial law, you know, Second Ezra 15, Second Ezra 16, you see? But let's go on, all right? All right, let me get another scripture, right? And then we're going to go into it. Psalm 73 and verse number 6, it says, therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain. Violence covereth them as a garment. Right, so they couldn't get their way, so they went up ahead and they said, you know what, well, to hell with it, man. We the big bad bully on the block. We're going to go run up in there and try to set up a puppet leader, right? But see, Iran got hands. They wasn't trying to go down so easy like Venezuela went down. You see? They fighting back. You see? It's like the big bad bully on the block. When he come through, everybody want to try to tuck their chain in. Like Debo and shit. You see? He said, shut your ass up, punk, before I knock you out too. Right? You see? But that's not the case. That wasn't the case with Iran. Iran wasn't having that shit. You see? But let's continue on. It says, where we at? Verse number 7, it says, their eyes stand out with fatness, and they have more than their heart can wish. See? And they have more than their heart can wish, but they want more. See, this devil is pushing for more. He want to go. This is a global reset, man. And a lot of these countries agree with this whole 17 sustainable development goals. You see? You see? So, without further ado, right? Because this devil didn't get his way. Right? So let's go into this here. Right? So it says, so I put Iran is not a controlled central bank. Right? And it came up, it says, the central bank of Iran, which is Bank Markazi, right, is widely considered a controlled entity and an extension of the Iranian government and an independent institution, right? So this is what they want to do. They want to get their hands in there, right? They want to get a puppet leader up in there. They want to push their goal, right? They want to push off their agenda, right? So this is more like an issue. Now, see, I got Catherine Fitz. I got a video I want to pull up with Catherine Fitz Austin talking about it, man. Okay? You see? So they making their own tongue to fall upon themselves. You see? Now she knows because she knows she's been inside this. She's seen a lot of things, so she's gonna tell you what the deal is. I'm gonna play the video for you. She was on the Tucker Carlson show. Right? So they see people think it's all about nuclear war. Nah, it's not about the nukes, man. It's more about getting control over the central bank and everything first and foremost. You see? Because now Iran, as we've seen, they do have nuclear missiles, man. But are they long range nuclear missiles? Nah, because Russia is going to back them up. Because as you see the BRICS and all that, right? You see, I think it's Brazil, Russia, Iran, China, and South Africa, right? I think that's what it is. You know, but let's continue on. It says, and they want to push off their own way of their own money system. You see, so pretty much they're in the way of Babylon the Great. They're in the way of the small hats. You see, and let's see this here. It says its functions as a state agency directly implementing monetary policy based on political properties rather than independent economic targets. The government is a member of a cabinet of Iran. It says key details regarding the nature of the Central Bank of Iran, government entity. The bank is classified as an agency or an instrumentally of the Iran instrumentally of the Iranian government. No independence. It says the bank does not operate independently of the government, often putting money to fund state incentives, which drives high inflation, right? It says state control and sanctions. It's directly controlled by the government, and it has been designated by the U.S. Treasury for facilitating financial transfers for the Iranian Revolution Guard Corps, right? The IRGC. Financial control. The government, through the central bank, took control, right, and outlawed unauthorized financial institutions to manage money supply, right? Economic strategy. The bank uses unconventional methods, including cryptocurrency, to bypass international sanctions and prop up the rail, right? You see. So now let's go into this. Let me get two more scriptures, right, and then we're gonna go in and listen to Catherine Fitz speak, right? So let's do this here. Let me get Micah, right? Let's get Micah 2:1. So they didn't get their way. This is what came down to it. War. That's why this devil Nero 47, right, through the small hats, because the small hats, Israel's pimping out Babylon the Great. They pimping out the whore, right? So they got them involved in whatever they need to do. You see? And Nero 47 ain't nothing but a puppet. He takes orders from the small hats, right? You see? So this is right here, Micah 2:1. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, is because it is in the power of their hand. And they covered fields, and they take them by violence. You see that? And they covered fields, and they take them by violence. Henceforth, why they want to go set up a puppet leader over there and kill the Ayatollah, right? The Ayatollah Kamali, or however you say his name, Kamili, right? You see, get him up out of there, right? And then we set up a puppet leader of ours, right, to get this thing popping. You see, right? It says, and they coveted fields, and they take them by violence, and houses, and they take them away, so that they oppress a man in his house, and even a man in his heritage. You see that, right? So let me get this here in Habakkuk, right? Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, right? Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. And let's go down to the 5th verse. Matter of fact, let's read the 4th verse, right? It says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, right? Esau, Edom is a damn devil. His spirit is not upright in him, man. This man's a devil. He goes around killing and stealing and pillaging with the sword, right? You see? When he doesn't get his way, he go to war, right? It says, but the just shall live by faith. That's the elect. You see, the hopeful elect is going to live by their faith, right? So let's read verse 5. It says, yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, right? Philosophies, right? He is a proud man. You see? Neither keepeth at home, right? Because he always in somebody's country, right? Just like what's going on now. You see? Iran got hands too. They not taking that madness that they went over there and they did to Venezuela, right? And then they did to these many different other countries, right? The big bad bully on the block, the hammer of the earth. You see, Babylon the Great, right? Because that's what Israel thought they could pull the bully in, the whore in, to go do their bidding. You see, because when you send a whore to go do, she gonna set shit up, right? She gonna set it up for you to come in with the kill and bring shit down. You see? But let's do this here. It says, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And that's what they want to do by what? This RFID microchip, right? Is global 17 development, the 17 sustainable development goals, right? Agenda 20, going back to Agenda 21, right? You see? Going into 2030. You see? And this is what they want to get done. Right? So that's why they moving fast, seeing that their days are numbered, seeing that their days are, matter of fact, Job 14:5, right? Seeing that their days are numbered, right? Matter of fact, let's go get 14:5. Let's do that real quick. Let's get Job 14:5. Right? Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Right? So you know this man got a short time. Revelation 12:12. You see? But we're gonna get that. We're gonna get that in a little while. Right? But let's go back in here and let's listen to Captain Fitz. You see? Let's go and do this here. Right? On the Tucker Carlson show. Right? Let's go and play this one right here. Let me see if we can get a good one. This one right here. You see?
If you go back to 9/11, and when Wesley Clark said we're gonna invade 7 countries in 5 years, what you were talking about were the countries where those central banks were not on board.
And what Captain Fitz is talking about, right, going back 5 years ago, right, was going back to CB19. You see? And this is the whole point, right? Because that's where they wanted to get their new world order up and going, right? That's henceforth why they brought in 5G, why they brought in these many different things and all this other stuff like that. You see? Getting people ready to go into this new world order, this new setup to take away the cash. Because this is going to be a cashless society, man. Okay? All right, let's continue on listening to Captain Fitz.
To do programmable money. And their governance structures were not on board with essentially, because of Epstein, I'll call it the Rockefeller Rothschild model. There was an effort to...
Now, henceforth, why I keep on bringing up the stable coin, because the international bankers, meaning and the small hatters, right, the tiny tops, they signed that stable coin in for a reason through Nero 47, right? There's a lot of things that's going to go down with that stable coin, man. I believe through the spirit. You see? That's why I always keep bringing it up. For some reason, it's been on my spirit. But let's continue on.
Okay, we're going to basically assert control of the central banks in those countries. That's my interpretation. And I think one of the reasons we're seeing so much tension around Iran is because Iran right now is the big leakage in the system.
How?
So
it's not about their nukes?
No. So, Iran's central bank counts. One of the reasons it counts is because their oil and energy is very important, including for China.
Yeah.
And that's very important in the BRICS system. What the BRICS system is trying to do is to create independent payment systems. But if you're going to...
And you see, she said it right there. The BRICS system is trying to create independent payment systems. And they don't want that. That's not what the small hats or the super elite banking families want. They want everything to be globally, everything to be under one central control grid, right?
Come out with programmable money, with digital IDs that are interoperable globally, and programmable money that controls in each jurisdiction centrally. You can't afford leakage. And so you've got way too much leakage in the system to proceed with what they're trying to do. And Iran is And the BRIC nations are a sticking point. And certainly Iran's oil,
meaning to say that they in the damn way. That's pretty much what she's getting at. That they in the damn way.
feeding China gives China greater independence.
So you think that one of the motives behind toppling all these governments was the creation of the control grid we're talking about now?
Right. So if you go back, so you had the wonderful Richard Werner on your show.
Yeah.
And Richard has a book called The Princes of the Yen, which is about the sort of effort to take over the Japanese central bank. And I think what you're looking at, I think part of the state of play with both Russia and Iran is how are you going to make sure that those central banks are entirely in the system?
So, yeah, that was an amazing interview. And he told the story about writing this book on the Japanese central bank. I can't imagine a more obscure topic from my non-economically minded standpoint. It'd be like writing a book on postcards from the Falkland Islands. It's just like, okay, a book on the Japanese central bank. And he said, well, actually, they suppressed it. I couldn't get it published in the United States, and you can't get a copy. And that's like checkable. So I checked it. You can't get a copy of that book. It's really hard.
I think you can order from its publisher right now.
Okay.
Right.
But, I mean, why would someone try to suppress a book?
Because it shows you the true, it takes you right into the secret governance system, and it shows you the primary mechanism by which they implement policy.
Yeah. Well, it's always the things you're not allowed to say are probably the important things, right? I mean, whenever they penalize you for having a thought, you're probably on the right track.
Well, it's one of the critical train tracks of control. So it's what I call the third rail. So I used to finance transit systems and train systems. So, a lot of these systems have two tracks that the wheels go on, and then they have a third rail that the power line runs on. And you get a train trap that flips over and sucks the energy from the third rail. So a lot of the things that really operate the third rail are very invisible. And for example, in central banking, to talk about tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 capital at the BIS and the banks, there's nothing more boring. It's designed to absolutely.
I just fell asleep in the middle of that sentence.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. Right.
Is it boring by design?
The way you're taught to talk about it is boring by design. But it's like the mechanisms of the legal system. If you look at the mechanisms of civil procedure or criminal procedure, it can, and you get into the weeds on it, it can be very boring unless you understand the application, and that can make it very interesting. But the capital, most people don't understand the capital's, sort of regulatory system. And yeah, it can get very, very boring.
Can you just, for people who haven't seen your previous talk, explain what the control grid is, what it looks like, and what it means?
So the control grid is a process or an infrastructure that allows digital technology to be used to assert phenomenal surveillance and control of people.
Yes.
And at the very heart of it is what I call programmable money. So it's money that is no longer just a currency. It's money that comes with a set of rules that can be surveilled and enforced. So imagine back in the pandemic, if your money, if I said, okay, you've got to lock down and your money won't work if you leave your house. You can't buy gas in your car because you're...
And that's what that is going to entitle to, right? With that RFID microchip. Aaron Russo had a conversation with with this guy, Alex Jones, right? And he was saying how they can just turn your chip off. You see? Which is that RFID microchip. We've been right on this thing the whole time, man. The MOTB. You see? And this is what she's talking about. Right? Controlled by what? Palantir. Gideon. You see? The total information, the first, the prototype of Palantir was Total Information Awareness Program. Right? So with that, what she's getting into is she's talking about a control system, right? A beast system, right? Through financial, okay? Through control, through blockchains, the many different other things, being aware of what you do, what you can't do, and so on and so forth, right? Carbon credits. You see?
Money is programmed with AI and software to enforce.
AI, software, everything of that nature, man. As we know, you got AI robotics, right? A technocratical world. You see? Technocracy. Continue.
A whole set of centralized rules. And programmable money allows the bankers who've been running monetary policy to now control fiscal policy and essentially replace legislatures and executive branch by making and enforcing the rules through the money. Now, that requires a large infrastructure of surveillance. So you need digital IDs, and then you need the hardware locally and globally to do.
Because digital IDs is going to track and trace you. They're going to know who's who, what's what, this and that. You see?
The surveillance and implementation. So, for example, if you look at the local hardware, and now people are seeing it, now that it's material, they're beginning to see it snap into place. So I don't know if you know flock cameras, but there are many communities across.
I brought up flock cameras. I did a few videos on flock cameras. You got a lot of them out there. They started to put that up doing CB19. All right? Which pretty much the police, right? The police can pull your ass over because they got Palantir within their cars, right? They can track your car. They know where you're going at all times. They know everything about you. They can see right into your finances. Everything, man. You see?
Across the United States that are entering into contracts paid by the taxpayers to put up cameras all around their neighborhood that track license plates and keep that data and share it with a variety of people. Or you have the FCC is trying to overrule local controls on cell towers, so they can literally put cell towers every 400 to 700 feet so that.
That's why they building up all these data centers, right? And what do you think Stargate was all about? Stargate is nothing but more than what you call the modern day, going back into the movie, what is it, Terminator, it's called with the Skynet. All right?
They can have the kind of invasive surveillance you need, or you have satellites now that can literally beam in Wi-Fi so that whether you have Wi-Fi in your home or not, they can start to track you. And all those systems come.
Right, and I did another video on that where your Wi-Fi can turn on and be a camera. You see, it can be a camera, and it can actually it can actually look at you, and it can see what you're doing. You see, it can see everything about you, right?
Put you in what I call the panopticon. So we saw in the Middle East with the first war with Iran, we saw 11 leaders out of 12 sort of top leaders in science and government assassinated because they're literally tracking everyone, and they can identify them and track them, and then you have invisible weaponry that can then take them out, or can identify missile strikes. So
may I ask you about, so you're talking about the 12-day war against Iran in June of 2025.
Correct.
We were led to believe, just as newspaper readers or news consumers, that those 11 Iranian officials were targeted with human intelligence, that Israel had spies inside of Iran, but you're saying that was done digitally.
That's probably, I would assume that's probably true.
What do you think the AWS and Google and all that stuff was all about with the winking mechanism, right? With Israel. You see? I did a video on that. You see, there's a lot of things going on in the midst, man. All right? You got to have the eye solve to see these things, man, and put it together. You see?
Because you always want to get human confirmation of what the systems are telling you. It's always better if you have both. But we are now moving into building out the kind of surveillance systems that can literally track, identify, and integrate with not only our existing weaponry, but ultimately autonomous weaponry. So anyway, so let me step back. You've got three parts to the control grid. One is the local hardware and infrastructure, and that includes the data centers, because if you,
The data, I thought those were for AI.
they are. Because if you look at what it takes to apply the equivalent of a social credit system to people,
I did videos on the data centers, man. You see? This is all in there. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yashai been on me to even go into all of that, man. And go in and see all of that, man. You see?
people's money. So the social credit system I apply to you is different than the one I apply to me. And if you look at the data I need to track you and test whether or not you're following the rules I've given you and enforce those rules, it's an explosive amount of data, particularly because you're looking not just at financial control, but spatial control. So what is AI good at, Tucker? AI is very...
Spatial control, movement control.
Yeah, so...
See, the spirit, the Lord gave me the spirit to see deep into this man's plans, man. You see? And break down this man's plans and then put it out in the forefront and show you brothers, man. And show the people, new listeners who coming in. The brothers are in the know already, but new listeners are coming in. Okay? So you understand what we talking about, man. We know what we talking about up here, man. This isn't some game or joke that we telling you. We telling you the truth up here. All right?
Turn off the car. So Congressman Massey is trying to kill the kill switch in your car. That's because spatial control...
Electric vehicles. And that's what they want to do away with the gas vehicles, man. That's why they bringing in all these electronic vehicles in from what? China and many different other places, right? That's why people, I got to push to start and all this. Give a damn about none of that, man. You see? Right? But they got these electronic vehicles by what? Elon Musk. Right? And then many different other electronic vehicles that they created. So all they got to do is just turn that shit off, man. You see? So you ain't going anywhere. All right?
means I can turn off your car, or I can set it so your money won't work more than a mile from your home or a 15-minute city. So you're not allowed to leave your 15-minute city, and your transportation and your money won't work outside.
And that's what going back into to that pandemic was all about. 15 feet. You see, which was a code word for saying 15-minute smart cities, right? With AI technology, internet of bodies, internet of things, right? All track, trace, and digitally controlled. You see, data centers, right?
Of that area. So let me step back. So what is AI good at? AI is very good at tracking things that can be expressed mathematically. And financial transactions and spatial movement can be expressed mathematically. And so what the AI centers are for primarily is to build that digital control grid and to manage that data. So, and now it can be used for many other purposes too. So it's not just going to be used for control. But to me, that's the primary purpose. And that, if you look at the cameras, if you look at the cell towers, if you look at the satellites, and then the AI, the data centers, those are all component pieces of the local hardware. So they're three.
That's all a part of it. It's all a part of the B system. It's all a part of the B system. Now you add that chip in there, you see, Revelation 13, verse 16, all the way down to 18. I'm not going to go get it, but we just showing you that this is what she's talking about. This is what's going on. All right? And that we giving you the 100% skinny up here, man.
Sort of pillars that I track. One is the programmable money, and that's what we at Solari are trying to stop. The second is the digital ID, because you need digital ID systems that are interoperable globally, and then the local hardware. And those are sort of the three pillars. And what's interesting is there's phenomenal development of all three. We have a commentary at Solari where we track. It's called the Fast Approaching Digital Control Grid. And every week we update all the things that are being done to build those three pillars and have them integrate with each other. And ever since the inauguration, it's been moving very, very quickly. Now, it's both sides of the uniparty. They come at it in different ways and they do different things. But this is Ultimately what this is doing is this is going to a point where the central bankers, whether they do it with a central bank digital currency or private stable coins and asset tokens, are setting the world up so that they can.
And I just told you about the stable coin. That's why I've been making videos on that, because the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemi Al-Shai been on me to make videos about the stable coin. It wasn't just signed into legislation just to get signed in. You see? That's because it's a part of it. It's going in with this system, man. You see?
Control your financial transactions literally in real time with the equivalent of a social credit system.
Well, 2026 is likely to be the year that some companies will find patriotism. They'll discover it. During the Biden years, corporate America thought hating our country was the thing to do, so they did it. Now that we're in a new era, they are coming back to reality. It's not real, though. It's a trick. They don't mean it at all. Black Rifle means it, and they've been doing it since day one. They're not just discovering.
All right, so that's all we need to get on that, right? So now let me get my last two scriptures and we're going to close, right? So let's go to 2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 2:11. And it says this: "Least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." And that word devices means plans, right? We're not ignorant to Satan's plans, man. You see? Let's go into it. All right? The word devices. You see? Let's play it.
Strong's G 3540. Naima.
Naima. See, a mental perception, thought, or evil purpose. See, and the evil purpose is to control, to track, trace, and control you under a beast system tagged with the RFID microchip, NFC microchip, near field communication, radio frequency identification. You see? Digital IDs, right? It says that which thinks the mind, thoughts, or purposes, right? Mind, device, thought. You see? A perception, right? I.e. purpose, or by implication, the intellect, right? The disposition itself, device, mind, or thought. And these are their plans, right? You see? Now, let me get my last scripture, and then we're just going to close. Revelation 12:12. Revelation 12 and verse number 12. It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So that's why these devils are moving fast. You see? But with that, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Marakah Quadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of Ruel. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect, the Bayat Dawadah, the house of David. Abba Babal, Shalom, Kwam Yashala.